Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Mind the Chat. I am Marwan Abdallawi, Innovation Director at Mind the Bridge. We are continuing our series of Mind the Chat focused on France and linked to our Scale Up Summit in Paris. Today, I'm delighted to have with me one of the major organizers of events that boosted innovation in France the past few years. I'm actually here referring to Vivatech. And please welcome with me Bastien Carves, Head of Startups and Ecosystem at Vivatech. Bastien, welcome.
Thank you, Maran. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here to answer your questions.
Great, Bastien. So first things first, could you introduce yourself and your role at Vivatech?
Of course. So I'm Bastien Carves. I'm the head of startups and ecosystem at Vivatech. So basically that means that I'm in charge of all the startups experience at Vivatech. We had more than 1,300 startups last year during the COVID period at Vivatech, and I'm in charge of the startup scouting as well for our different partners. I'm going to talk about it later in this conversation. And as well, I'm in charge of the all the ecosystem partnerships, which means the partnerships with the incubators, accelerators, and VC funds at Vivatech. So, and all of these topics with a team of 7 people at Vivatech. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, small team but large input. Great. So obviously, I know Vivatech as one of the major events in Europe focused on innovation and startups, but I think you mentioned already way more. So maybe you can elaborate on its genesis first, why Vivatech was created, and for what purpose, and how you guys did evolve through the years.
Yes. So Vivatech was built in 2016. Through the initiatives of Maurice Lévy and Francis Morel. At the beginning, Maurice Lévy from Publicis Group and Francis Morel from Les Echos, with the ambition to create a massive tech event in the world, and especially with the mission to help corporates and to help corporate partners in their digital transformation, to help also startups in their growth. At the moment, a few years ago, we were talking a lot about open innovation, so the collaborations between startups and corporates. Also, the mission at this moment when creating Vivatech was to foster innovation through the French ecosystem, to make it shine to the world. And also this was a perfect event to share between all these different actors, startups, investors, corporates, public sectors, representatives, to share the best practices in funding, to share the best practices in open innovation, in digital transformation. So this was the main idea at the beginning. And how it evolved in 5 years. We are preparing the 6th edition at this moment. I think the initial mission of Vivatech evolved a lot, since we are living in an evolving world and a completely changing world, and the challenge we have to face today are really different compared than 5 years ago. So I think the mission today of Vivatech is to bring all these actors under one roof, and all these entrepreneurs actors, innovation actors, and to ignite positive change for business and for society.
Great mission, and yeah, I have to say that uh, I was kind of I saw the creation of Vivatech at first, so and I could see really how it evolved in a great way. So congrats for that. Yeah, maybe you mentioned so okay, you foster the startup ecosystem. I guess both you help startups, corporations, you have them, I guess, talk, but maybe you can elaborate more. I'm hearing also the VC part, which is kind of new for me. So maybe you can elaborate a bit more on how concretely you do foster this whole ecosystem.
Of course, I can talk about open innovation a little bit as it is one of the main pillars of Vivatech since the beginning. Since one of the main mission of Vivatech to help startups find the right corporates to collaborate with. Um, I think we are really committed to this to this to this pillar at Vivatech. What we do concretely. We created in 2016 what we call the startup challenges, which are a call for projects dedicated to startups, coming from the corporate partners at the beginning, but also coming from different kind of actors today. We are working with different actors such as UNESCO. We are working with different countries, which with the Japan country, for example, etc. And so we help our partners to identify the right startups. So we work with them to identify their internal problematics, their internal issues. We work with them to make them match with the startup ecosystem. We post it on the Vivatech Challenge Startup Challenges platform, and our role is to mobilize to reach a global ecosystem of startups through the incubators, through the accelerators, through the VC funds, to make them come to this platform and make them apply to these challenges. And after that, once we reached out all this startup ecosystem, we help some of our partners to select the right startups depending on the problematic, depending on the scope, and to make them the selected startup come at Vivatech, pitch on stage at Vivatech, and the final goal of this startup challenge are to make the startups collaborate, look for the right the right persons to discuss collaborations, implement, develop business collaborations through contract signs, through open innovation processes. So this is what we do for the startup challenges. And regarding the investors, sorry, you talked about. Of course, investors are really important targets for the startups in their growth, even if it's not mandatory to raise funds to grow for the startups. But so we are targeting a lot of French and international investors. We create a value proposition at Vivatech with a dedicated launch for these investors, the private equity funds, to meet the startups. They can find the right startups through the Vivatech application, and they can meet them at Vivatech, and after Vivatech, hopefully to invest in these startups. So yes, we had in 2019 more than 1,300 investors coming to Vivatech. Last year it was around 800 investors coming in Vivatech in 2021,
Wow.
and we're planning to have more than 1,500 investors this year in June.
Great numbers. Let's now switch about stories, right? Can you provide some success stories that you've seen in the past, as you just mentioned that how you do up innovation? But yeah, I think we mentioned somehow LVMH, or maybe you have other examples, obviously.
Yes. So yes, LVMH is a good example in my point of view because they are one of the founding partners at Vivatech. They launched in 2017 what they call the LVMH Innovation Awards, which is a massive call for project dedicated to the retail industry and much more because we were talking about a lot of industries and technology in this call for project. We are talking about omni-channel and retail, talking about media and brand awareness, about different technologies such as 3D, such as virtual product experience, operations and manufacturing excellence, for example, and so on. We have six categories. We doing a global communication on these awards. And at Vivatech, we select the depends on the year, but between tens and 30 finalists. They pitch on stage on the lab at Vivatech, and there is every year one winner of the LVMH Innovation Awards. So this winner every year is a really good success story. So I can take the example of Bamboozer last year, who won the LVMH Innovation Award 6 months ago in June, which is a startups doing a live stream solution for the retail for the shopping in the shopping experience, and so they won this LVMH Innovation Award this year, and today they're working with different maisons of LVMH to plug their solutions to the common retail channels through the group. So this is a really good example. I can take other example of success stories at Vivatech we had through the startup challenges. For example, we are working since multiple year with Huawei, and we have they have a program which is called Digital Impulse, which aims at identifying the best French startups. As LVMH was a more international and call for project, Huawei is looking for the best French startups to invite them in China, in Asia, and to select 10 startups to invite them in China and to make them meet the different stakeholders of Huawei in the continent, and to create business leads through the Asian markets. And we have different example of success stories after this program. So I can talk about TrackApp, for example, who was one of the laureates of this program. I think it was 2 years ago, and they are developing a tracking solution for cleaner and safer mobility. So tracking solution they can put into bikes, and they discovered they meet. They met in China a supplier of bikes they're nowadays collaborating with. So this is one of an example of success stories we can talk about. Yeah.
Definitely. So actually, not only focusing on the French market, but even going abroad and building bridges. You know, at Mind the Bridge, we love bridges. So building bridges between other geographies. Great. Okay. So we talked, about the impact of the pandemic. Obviously, one big trend that now is very well known is the digitization of the large corporations, which actually I think helped a lot some startups to create get some new clients. We mentioned the industrialization that is coming back to France, or at least the will to get that industrialization back. Any other impact that you've seen? Do you confirm those trends? What's your take here?
Yeah, of course. I'm pretty convinced that the pandemic changed a lot the different mentalities and the behaviors of the consumers of the innovation processes. They changed the way corporates are collaborating with startups. They focused more during these 2 years on doing coming back to the core business, I think if we could see that in the past years, corporates were trying to see what could be the next business model, what could be the new ideas on different topics, imagining new technology implemented in their in their business model. I think they concentrated more on the core business and how the startup solution could help the core business being being stronger. So this change, I think that the different processes in the open innovation teams in our corporates. And you talk about the industrialization. I think there's a will, of course, to come back to Europe more industrialized, even France more industrialized. I think it's a really complex topic. I think everyone is involved, not only the startup ecosystem, of course, in this change. I think mentalities have to change. But I think people are not able to pay a lot more to have the same products produced in Europe. So there's a key role for the governments to create a suitable environments to allow the startup ecosystem to take part to this movement. And I'm pretty convinced that the startup ecosystem will get this opportunity once everything will be set up from the government side.
Okay, great. So what you're saying is that we have some pieces of the puzzle, but we still have to add to
Exactly. Yeah.
those. Obviously, yes, it has to come also from large corporations that have, all the infrastructure behind, and then we'll be able to get in kind of the startups, if I may say. All right. Okay. Well, talking about what is missing to the French ecosystem, we talked last week actually with Nicolas Briand, chairman at Eura Technology, which is an accelerator, one of also the biggest one in Europe, and he was mentioning to us that what is for him, according to him, what is missing is two things: early stage funding, and then some a procurement process that is more startup friendly. You cannot ask your startup, for example, to have 2 years of references of clients when the startup has been created a year ago. What's your take here?
So regarding the fundings and the early stage funds missing in France, I do totally agree on that. I think the ecosystem of incubators and accelerators is quite deep in France, and so this ecosystem allows startups to raise the first tickets of their growth, but maybe like 100k, 200k, 300k maximum. But I think there's a gap between this 300k and the Series A, the minimum 1 million euros invested in by the VCs in startups. Of course, it's a complex topic as well. Investors do not want to invest less than, I'm talking generally, but for investors is not. They do not want to invest in less than 1 million euros. Actually, in Series A at the moment, it's really rare to see Series A from 500k euros. So maybe that the gap between these accelerator tickets and these Series A tickets. I think the business angels network is really interesting in France as well, but they are more competing with the first tickets with the accelerator programs rather than the Series A tickets funds. So I do agree with Nicolas on that point.
And what do you think? Is that something that Vivatech, for example, could play that role, or again enforcing maybe the business angel network that you mentioned?
Of course, this is one of the main goals at Vivatech this year is to attract more business angels. at Vivatech, and maybe they could play a role in leveraging the amount of the tickets. Um, or maybe we should think about creating structures, or maybe see how the VC funds, like so we fund, for example, the peer to the peers VC funds could help uh, in 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 um, uh, in helping this gap, to close this gap on that tickets. So I think it's a really interesting topic. We should think about it, how to help startup, because we also see that a lot of startups coming at Vivatech are looking for this kind of tickets. They already accelerated in ecosystem, in ecosystem partners. They're looking for more funds. Sometimes they are in this gap, so we should think about it. Yeah.
Fair enough. Great. So, actually, also coming back to our conversation with Nicolas, he also mentioned that, in France and Europe, we have one big differentiation if we compare ourselves with the big guys, which are US and China, which is basically tech for good, tech with purposes. And we're thinking about stuff that those two ecosystems are not. So, any thoughts that? Do you think actually tech for good could be a way for European to come back ahead of the game?
Yes, I think we have a clear role to play on that tech for good topic. I think we could be ahead on that point. I think consumer mentalities are ready to scale on that point, on that tech for good point. I think we see, when I'm screening all the startup applications every year, I clearly see that in Europe we are more considering these criteria, tech for good criteria, rather than in the US and China. Even if the startups are not tech for good by design, of course, not all the startups can have a model based on the tech for good, but they are considering, uh, they are taking into consideration these criteria, inclusion criteria, environmental impact, maybe more than the US and maybe more than Asia. I think it's the global ecosystem taking into consideration this criteria and helping the startups get the most of it. Um, we see that the VC, the investors, are also really taking into consideration this criteria in their due diligence when investing in the startups. Nowadays, it's mandatory to invest in the startups that's clear enough on that point, that is that is leading its topic with a vision on the tech for good aspects. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, the investors, the mentalities are ready, I think, and we should play this role. We should accelerate on that, I think, and I'm sure the governments are also ready to help the ecosystem to accelerate on that. We can talk about, for example, the Tech for Good Summit launched at the Elysee 3 years ago, with different decision makers from the main corporates, companies from all over the world, and also with decision makers from the startup ecosystem and scale-up ecosystem. And they're all meeting in Paris just before Vivatech, and they're thinking about the way they could create the ecosystem, the tech for good ecosystem, how they could take engagements and they could involve themselves in this process, is how to reduce the environmental impact, how to be more inclusive in their different actions, business models as well.
Yeah, something that definitely was missing the last COP 20. I lost track of the numbers, but the 20 thing, where VC were not part of the conversation and neither startups. So, yeah, that's great. um, Bastien. Great. So, last question here. Looking at the next year. So, what does Vivatech prepare for us?
That's a good question. All the team is hardly working for the next edition that will take place from June 15th to June 18th for 4 days. What about the format first, maybe? So we'll want to come back to a strong in-person event in Paris, as it was quite difficult last year with the pandemic restrictions, the COVID restrictions, to have a strong event in Paris. We did it actually. We were one of the first events coming back in person. So this is the first ambition, is to let people meet in person in Paris, to create strong business leads in Paris, and to make the capital of France during 1 week one of the place to be for the startup ecosystem, all the open innovation ecosystems. Of course, we plan to be even more international than compared than to last year. In the pandemic as well, a complicated year, travel bans everywhere. So it was really tough to attract international people in Paris. So the strategy will focusing on that point this year. Uh, we are the Europe's biggest tech and startups event, so we want to confirm that position. We want to make all the UK, German, US, Chinese ecosystem coming in Paris, all the big ecosystems in the world coming in Paris. So this is mostly regarding the formats, in-person formats, and regarding the Vivatech content. Uh, I talk about Tech for Good. We talked about Tech for Good. Of course, this will be one of the main topic: how tech could help Tech for Good could help the business and the society, of course, to change. So we will handpick all the next months the best Tech for Good startups to come and exhibit their solution at Vivatech. Of course, we're having a really good traction regarding the corporate partners, and we hopefully will show the best innovations from the corporate partners, the different countries represented, institutions, ecosystem players as well. The best innovations in terms of coming from the startups as well, and in terms of discussions and conference program, of course. If you've been to Vivatech, you know that this is a strong pillar also of the event. So we had the past years Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, Jack Ma, Emmanuel Macron, Justin Trudeau, and so on, many different speakers. So we are working currently on in attracting the best thought leaders, experts, tech experts, innovation experts to speak at Vivatech and to inspire all the audience. And talking about different topics, of course, we'll talk a lot about Europe's. I think we're in a decades in terms of technology that is crucial for Europe to get positioned on. We'll talk about, of course, trending and topic, the race to zero emission. We'll talk about the mobility rebound, talking about green, connected, and shared mobility. We knew with the pandemic different change in terms of working, the home office, everything. So we'll talk about the future of work, nowhere and everywhere. So we have a full program getting prepared. Also, we'll have this year a strong program on the African tech ecosystem. We've been focusing in the past years already on the Africa and how the ecosystem in Africa is growing fastly and changing also the face of other continents by disrupting some technologies. And this is a really interesting and subject, and we have a strong part of the program dedicated to the African tech ecosystem, with different countries coming at Vivatech, with many startups coming from Africa. We launched the first edition of the Africa Tech Awards this year. We announced in the past year. So yes, we're working a lot, and we are really ambitious on the next edition of Vivatech. Hope to see you there.
Yes, I look forward to it actually, Bastien. So again, Bastien, thank you very much for all your insight and inputs. That's all, folks. Thank you very much for being with us today, guys. Stay tuned with our Mind the Chat. You should know by now that we are always interviewing innovation leaders, and obviously we'll continue next year. Thank you again. Thank you, Bastien.
Thank you, Maran. Bye.